Welcome back to our special coverage of the 2018 Inter-Korean Summit. We are coming to you live from our studio in Paju overlooking the Torasan checkpoint. I'm Noaram. It is 1 p.m. now, South Korea time, and we know that the leaders of the two Koreas are having lunch separately right now. From the start of the summit, a series of unexpected events. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, as anticipated, had crossed the border to the south, but just before that, the South Korean president, Moon Jae-in, crossed the border to the north in an unscripted, impromptu move. Also, another surprise coming from the North Korean leader. The young leader Kim said that, quote, if invited, he is more than willing to visit South Korea's presidential office of Cheongwade. A lot of content and developments pouring in, so a lot to cover. Let's get straight to it. Let's connect to our main press center, Park Ji-won, who is at the Panmunjom press pool. Ji-won, what's the latest?
Hello, Aram. Well, currently the two leaders temporarily halted the summit meeting for a lunchtime, and the official briefing was held here about half an hour ago by Yoon Young-chan, Senior Secretary for Public Relations at the South Korean Presidential Office. Yoon gave reporters here detailed remarks by the two leaders from their first encounter at Panmunjom a few hours ago to their summit meeting at the Peace House, where meeting is taking place. Upon meeting, Kim said that it's more meaningful that the summit is being held at a symbolic place of confrontation between the two Koreas. And South Korean President Moon Jae-in said in return that he hopes the talks could continue for multiple more times across the nation, from South Korea's southern resort island of Jeju-do to Baekju Mountain in North Korea. And what drew attention among reporters here was that when Kim Jong-un crossed the border and came to the South Korean side, he took South Korean President Moon Jae-in's hand and invited him to the north side. So Moon also stepped onto the northern side. It was quite the sight to behold. And in the guest book at the Peace House, Kim Jong-un wrote that, quote, new history begins now at the starting point of the period of peace. They began their talks from 10:15 a.m., some 15 minutes earlier than scheduled. President Moon Jae-in was accompanied by Presidential Chief of Staff Im Jong-seok, National Intelligence Service Chief Seo-hun, while Kim Jong-un was with his sister Kim Yo-jong and North Korea's ceremonial leader Kim Young-nam. During the two leaders' opening statements, which was televised, Kim said he hoped the two Koreas do not repeat the past patterns of inter-Korean relations, where promises were made, cancelled, then the Koreas go back to square one. Instead, he said he hoped the two can build a future together, hand in hand. In return, South Korean President Moon complimented Kim's courageous act, saying he hopes the two Koreas can reach agreements so the talks could yield a big surprise for all the people in the world who yearn for peace. And let's see what surprising agreements and results they will come out with. Well, that's all I have for now, and now we'll bring you more in a later newscast. Back to you.
Thank you, Ji-won. Now we bring things back to the Torasan checkpoint for a look at how the press here is covering the summit. Much attention is being paid attention to these summits. Let's connect to our Park Hee-jun, who is on the ground to soak in the atmosphere around our studio here in Paju. Hee-jun.
Hey Aram, so I'm at the Torasan checkpoint where you are also at. So this place is basically a very close place to Panmunjom. It's only a couple of kilometers away, and you can think of this place as a gateway that connects North and South Korea together. It's also referred to as the Inter-Korean Transit Office or the Customs, Immigration and Quarantine Office of South Korea. It's situated in Paju of Gyeonggi-do Province, just south of the demilitarized zone that separates the two Koreas apart. Around 200 Koreas used to pass through here each day when the Kaesong Industrial Complex was still operating. However, after it was shut down, it was pretty much empty since until recent Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, when North Korean VIPs and athletes came through this office to enter the South. And as you know, it's been showing some life, especially in recent days with the Inter-Korean Summit ahead.
That's right. What we have is quite a rare sight in this part of the country indeed, all thanks to the media buzz surrounding the Inter-Korean Summit. What's it like? He's been outside the studio at the checkpoint right now, and how are the media covering this event?
Well, it's not quiet or serene at all like it was in recent years after the industrial complex was closed down. Rather, this week it was very buzzing with a lot of media preparations. A lot of people from the media outlets were here preparing studios and equipment that are necessary for the live coverage of the Inter-Korean Summit. And I've been here since yesterday. I've seen maybe around hundreds of media people from both local and foreign outlets. And even today, a lot of reporters were on live on camera reporting on the Inter-Korean Summit when it was live. And there was actually a very interesting scene when the two leaders met and their encounter went live on air in the morning. All eyes and ears were tuned to the long-awaited summit. They were focused on the television screen, smartphones, and other devices. It was the kind of attention that only such a history-making summit could have excited. And I'm sure it's going to continue throughout the day and evening, so I'll keep you updated with the latest. Aram?
Well, thank you, Hee-jun, for that update. As the two leaders of the two Koreas for the first time meet, the Summit Press Center, filled with around 3,000 reporters and media crew members, watched the moment with keen eyes. Let's connect now to our Lee Ji-won back at the Panmunjom Press Pool to fill us in on how foreign reporters and media are seeing this summit from over there.
I'm at the Summit Press Center here in Kintex Convention Center in Goyang, northwest of Seoul. With the much-anticipated third Inter-Korean meeting finally here, hundreds of reporters and media crews from around the globe have gathered at this place. Let's now go over and try to talk to some of them to see what they are anticipating for today's summit. Hello. Hi. Could you give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Philip Sherwell, and I'm the Asia correspondent of the London Sunday Times.
So we've seen the two Korean leaders meet, and for the first time, the North Korean leader, for the first time after Korean War, the North Korean leader crossed over to South, and after that, they had more encounters. And how did you see that?
I think it was a very warm greeting. I mean, not only did the North Korean leader cross to the south side, but Kim Jong-un actually then led President Moon hand by hand back briefly onto the northern side for a photo opportunity. So the body language is very positive, and I think these are two men who are committed clearly from their very different perspectives to making today a success.
So you said success. So what are some key points to look out for today's summit?
Well, the devil is in the detail, and how substantive they get, we will have to wait and see. I think they will be. It will be relatively easy for them to talk about certain sort of commitments on peace and relations and improved situation between the two countries. The key detail is nuclear weapons and denuclearization. This is what the whole world is watching to see, whether they will discuss in substance. America will be watching to see this, of course, and for that, I think we'll know more at the end of the day. But I think that we won't see any major fallouts. I think these two men are really committed to leaving today after tonight's banquet on a good note.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's now move over to meet our second interviewee. Hello. Hi. Hi. Could you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, hi there. My name is Martin Dimitrov, and I work for the Bulgarian newspaper Capital Weekly.
So compared to the two previous Inter-Korean summits, the number of press and media crews have doubled this time. What do you think brought to this worldwide attention this time?
Well, first of all, I definitely think it was the past year and a half of inter-Korean tensions, and especially the very harsh rhetoric on behalf of the American President Donald Trump vis-a-vis North Korea, and the harsh reactions on the North Korean side as well. The nuclear tests and the rocket launches were really pointing at something like huge happening. Maybe we were going towards war. And at one point, just like out of nothing, out of the blue, we see peace talks happening after just like 26-7 days of preparation, which was, makes it pretty unique for world media and I guess Korean media alike.
Yes, so surely this Inter-Korean summit was a huge issue for Korea and its neighboring countries. But how much of a big issue is it in your country, Bulgaria, and the European countries?
Well, obviously, we're living in a very globalized world, so even like smaller countries like Bulgaria are feeling the tension because if there is war, we all know that everybody will suffer, and whatever happens, even if it limits itself to Korea or to Asia, the economic impacts would be huge everywhere, and the human suffering, obviously. So people are interested. Obviously, it's more of a niche topic in Bulgaria because we have actually pretty huge ties with South Korea, but and we used to have a lot of ties with North Korea. But nowadays it's more like this thing that's happening like over there, and which may endanger us all.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. That's all from me for now, but I'll be back with more updates later.
Okay, now let's take a look at the international reaction to today's Inter-Korean summit. The White House has welcomed the talks, expressing hope that the historic meeting will lead to peace and prosperity on the Korean peninsula. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders added the United States looks forward to continuing, quote, robust discussions with Seoul in preparation for the planned meeting between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Japan, meanwhile, praised Seoul's efforts to set up the summit, adding it expects the talks to feature positive discussions to resolve the issues of Japanese nationals abducted by North Korea, nuclear weapons and missiles. China sent a positive message expressing hope the talks will lead to resolutions for issues on the peninsula. Russia's foreign ministry also sent its sincere wish for the success of the Inter-Korea meeting, adding it will comment more once the two Koreas unveil their self-evaluations and if it sees some positive results. US President Donald Trump has struck back at critics who say the United States has given North Korea too many concessions ahead of their planned summit. Trump says the claims couldn't be further from the truth. He also revealed that 3 or 4 dates are being discussed for the summit between the US and North Korean leaders. For details, we turn to our Lee Seung-jae.
Calling into Fox and Friends on Thursday, President Trump insisted the only side that has given things up for the Washington-Pyongyang summit is North Korea, citing the regime's promises on denuclearization, testing, research, and on closing some of its nuclear sites. He said the United States hasn't made any concessions at all. President Trump's comments come a matter of days after the North announced it was closing its nuclear test site and suspending nuclear and intercontinental ballistic missile tests. Kim Jong-un has also indicated that he's ready to discuss denuclearization, but it remains unclear whether he's willing to give up the nuclear weapons his nation already has and what he would want in return. Trump argued that the only concession, if any, he has made to the North was his decision last month to accept Kim's invitation for a meeting. He added that, quote, the nuclear war would have happened if you have weak people. In regards to the date of what promises to be a historic summit between the U.S. and North Korea, President Trump said 3 or 4 dates are under review and that there are 5 possible venues being considered, but did not elaborate. Trump has said in the past that he will meet Kim in May or early June to talk about the denuclearization of the regime, but also stressed that he will walk away if the meeting is unlikely to be fruitful. President Trump also revealed information about Mike Pompeo's secret visit to Pyongyang earlier this month, saying his newly sworn-in Secretary of State wasn't supposed to meet with the North Korean leader, but ended up talking with Kim for more than an hour. Pompeo is the most senior U.S. official to meet a North Korean leader since 2000. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Could North Korean leader Kim Jong-un be coming to Seoul in the near future? Well, that's the suggestion that Kim has offered during his meeting with President Moon Jae-in this morning. To talk about that and other issues this morning, other talking points from this morning, we have with us again Professor Kim Hyun-wook from the Korea National Diplomatic Academy. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
Now, we'll start with that offer to come to South Korea. So they met, they had the guard of honor, and President Moon joked that if Kim came to Seoul, he would see a bigger guard of honor because this was a cut-down version for the Panmunjom area. And then Kim said, if you invite me, I will come. What do you make of that?
Yes, that's a very surprise conversation. The guard of honor, the ceremonial, welcoming ceremonial thing, because it has been held at the DMZ area, maybe South Korean guard of honor is compared to the first and second summit very minimal. And maybe that's the beginning of, President Moon's suggestion of invitation to President, not President Kim Jong-un to come to visit South Korea and come to the Blue House, the presidential house in South Korea, and President the Kim Jong-un accepted it. De facto acceptance. I think. I mean, maybe he would say something else or not, but according to his style, he does what he says. I mean, he is trying to look as a very, adamant and courageous leader. I'm the one who do what I say. That kind of leader style he wants to show to the people of the world and to South Korea. So I think I'm not sure if South Korean government would, officially send invitation to Kim Jong-un later on again. But if that has happened, I think the possibility that Kim Jong-un would accept the invitation seems very high so far.
Well, it certainly raised the expectation of a possible, another possible inter-Korean summit in Seoul.
Sure.
We also got some other breaking news of some recent comments by President Moon, who said, discussions had gone very well, and that there will be a gift to the world soon. What do you think that could be?
I think because this is a South Korea and North Korea summit meeting, maybe the denuclearization is a very important issue. The entire world is worrying about the North Korean threat of nuclear and ICBM capabilities. But I think that they would have, some agreement about the denuclearization of North Korea. I mean, regardless of the outcome later on, regardless of how the process goes on evolve in the future, I think at least today the agreement would be very rosy. I mean, they would agree upon the denuclearization and the Kim Jong-un's intent to denuclearize North Korea. I think that will be stipulated in the agreement. And a second one is that, I mean, as President Trump has mentioned and showed a very positive response to the current summit meeting, which according to him would contribute to the peace in the Korean Peninsula. The peace in the Korean Peninsula is also a very important agenda. And I think the two leaders also would make some important agreement about how more plausibly and feasibly the peace in the Korean Peninsula would be implemented in the future. And in the briefing, I think one sentence that has gotten on me was that two leaders emphasized a speedy implementation of North-South summit and North-South relations. Kim Jong-un mentioned that, very, which might call it, the frozen basis, which seems like, to be broken down easily. We have to speed up to trot on it. I mean, if we trot on it and walk slowly, it's easily broken. So two leaders have emphasized a very speedy implementation and speedy relations evolution in the future. That's, I think, a very important message that they have exchanged.
So how do you rate the meeting so far today? Successful or at some points disappointing?
I don't know.
Maybe unsurprising, because we expected it to go smoothly.
Yes. So far it's okay, but we have to check out the contents of the agreement and the agreement later on in the afternoon. What kind of agreement will be revealed in the afternoon. But after the morning meeting, they say that the meeting was very fruitful, productive, but it was a very short amount of time. So I think most of the agenda they have already agreed. Agreement, right, sure. And today's summit, it's something to say hello to each other, to expedite their relations, maybe some other adjustment or extra agenda they want to talk to make a very good atmosphere, kind of showmanship to the world. Hey, we are here summit, there's a peace in the Korean Peninsula, but core agenda, I think they have already agreed.
Right.
So we have to see what the agreement would come out in the afternoon.
Right, because the details that have come out so far, it's all pretty much smiles and handshakes, jokes, and just very light-hearted comments. There wasn't any meaty details in the briefing that the spokesperson gave about this morning's meeting.
No.
So I guess we have to wait. Even though they had a meeting for 100 minutes or so, they said. It's a long time. You know, I'm sure they got down to some sort of discussions about this and that. But what do you think we should be looking out for then in the afternoon today?
Afternoon, I think there will be a more expanded meeting with all the staffs joining the summit meeting. Maybe 9 staffs, and from South Korea, I'm not sure, 7 or 8 staffs are joining the summit meeting, which I think would be more, which one call it, you know, rather than touching upon substantive issues, I think it would be more formative.
Okay.
You know, all the staffs there. It's more about you know, formative issues. But afterwards, the latest summit meeting would be one-on-one summit. 2 leaders. I'm not sure one person who will be accompanying secretary or someone would be joining the summit, but only one and one are the important figures. The 2 leaders would be having the you know, summit meetings in the later afternoon, after which I think they would you know, announce the agreement, whether in the press or not. So I think that latest summit, I think, is very important. I think they would have their own, you know, agenda they want to talk about. I mean, after the whole time of summit meetings, from the morning to the afternoon, they talk and have a good atmosphere and good mood. And then later on, at the final stage, they have to finalize the agreement that they have agreed so far. So I think that's the final touch that they would focus, which I think is the most important, you know, part of the summit meeting.
So in the afternoon, they're going to have a commemorative tree planting ceremony. They're going to have a informal walk on a footpath, on the footbridge, where they're going to have more chit-chat and more informal conversation. And then after the afternoon summit, they're going to have an evening dinner farewell party where they're going to have a viewing of a film. How important do you think all this symbolic part of the summit is? All these gestures and commemorative tree planting, all these kind of things?
That's just the symbolic things. I mean, that's just to show to the world and to the Korean people that, oh, we are, you know, making the peace again in the Korean Peninsula. 2 leaders are, you know, getting united, and it's you know, different Korean Peninsula stage and era. It's only the symbolic things. What is more important is what kinds of outcome would come out of it. What kinds of agreement would come out of it. I met one of the journalists from the foreign media who said that the summit meeting would be only symbolic. He is very positive, but you know, rather negative tone he delivered to me. So I think a more important thing is, you know, what kinds of agreement would come out of the summit meeting. You know, we have North Korea and U.S. summit meeting, you know, scheduled sometime in June, maybe early or middle of June. Maybe because of the you know, magnitude that the meeting has, maybe the current today's summit meeting is a little bit you know, judged you know, less than those meetings. You know, so I think what makes this summit meeting much more significant is the agreement in the afternoon. Many people are thinking about the denuclearization, how much serious and sincere intent of Kim Jong-un would be expressed and stipulated in the agreement. What kinds of gestures or behaviors for the peace in the Korean Peninsula, which I think would ultimately be leading to the peace treaty. This is just a very important initial step for all these kind of processes leading to the peace treaty by 4 countries around in the Korean Peninsula. So that's a very important agreement. And other things, I'm not sure, to Korea's relationship, devoid of economic cooperation, I'm expecting something big would come out of it too.
Sure. We will be keeping close watch. Thank you for your time, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Lee Ji-hyun with the latest weather update. Typical spring weather is in the forecast under bright skies with big gaps in readings across the nation today. Just a warning, it will feel quite cool when the sun is not around. Up in Panmunjom, the venue the Inter-Korean Summit, the two leaders of Koreas will also have pleasant weather conditions with a warm high of 23 degrees Celsius. In fact, most major cities will see the high getting up to 23 degrees, including Seoul and Gyeongju under mostly sunny skies. But be aware that the capital area and the Chungcheong-do provinces could have high levels of fine dust today. And we'll see similar weather throughout the weekend and into next week, but it could get dusty at times, so check the levels before heading out. That's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Okay, that'll do it for this hour of this special coverage on the Inter-Korean Summit. We'll be back with more of the hour's headlines at 2 p.m. A busy day with constant updates and developments coming from the summit between the two Korean leaders and more of their encounters coming up soon. I'm Noaram. Stay tuned.